Today I'm tackling a really big topic of what are the red flags of autism. Today I'm bringing you information that is compiled from the DSM-5, the CDC, and Autism Speaks. 3 wonderful resources. You can find all these resources and references down below. I'm going to list these red flags under 3 categories of deficits, and that is social skills, communication skills, and the third one is restricted or repetitive patterns of interests, behaviors, and actions. And I'm going to get into that and make that as clear as possible for you. So let's get going. Communication. Obviously, I'm a speech language pathologist and this is my specialization. So I'm going to give you the best examples I can here for red flags within communication skills. Lack of pointing. If they are not pointed to things that they're interested in, maybe an airplane in the sky or things that they want, maybe the cookies are on top of the refrigerator and they see it but they can't reach it, they should be pointing with an index finger. And if they're not doing that by 12 months, that is a red flag. Not looking at objects when a person points to it. So if I am saying, oh, look at that, and I point to it, the child should follow my point with his eyes and know and understand that direction. And that should be pretty immediate too. It's not going to take multiple attempts. It's not going to be like, look, hey, look, and you shouldn't have to get into the child's face or tap them on the shoulder to really get them out of what they're already looking at in order for them to follow the point. It should be pretty quick and easy, and they should show an interest in what you're interested in. Repeating or echoing words or phrases that they hear throughout the day without meaning. So a classic example is if you say, Johnny, what do you want to do? And he says, Johnny, what do you want to do? That's not typical. Most children very early on learn how to answer those questions, and even if they can't answer the question, they don't repeat the whole question back to you. That's called echolalia, where they're just echoing or repeating something meaninglessly. As well as maybe it's just a word. If you say come and they say come, imitation is a good skill. It's really important. I do teach toddlers how to imitate, but there's a difference between imitating and echoing, just echoing everything, just like without meaning and not learning the usage or the actual concepts of those words. So if I'm saying come and the child is saying come, and I say come here, and he says come here, and he doesn't understand, that means move your body over here. That is most likely echolalia, and that is often a red flag of autism. Along with that would be a child repeating phrases that they've memorized, maybe from their favorite movie, maybe a Disney movie, and they just say that phrase all the time. Like, you've got a friend in me, I don't know, from Toy Story, you've got a friend in me, and they don't know what that means, they've just memorized it and they use it all the time. Or maybe a phrase that they have heard or learned from their parents, but they're using it all the time in kind of an odd and it doesn't make sense kind of way. Maybe the mom says, let's get going, and that's her thing to say when it's time to get going, but maybe that child has started to say, let's get going, let's get going, let's get going, all the time without that making sense. It's not time to get going, he's just saying it just to say it. Red flag of autism is generally having a communication problem, expressing their needs and wants. Many children I work with who are not on the spectrum or not at risk for being on the spectrum, they are behind in their vocabulary, but they do have the skill of once they learn the word milk, they can use it to tell someone that they want milk. They don't just name milk when they see it. They go up to their mom, they pat their mom on the leg and they say milk as a way of saying, hey, I'm really wanting some milk right now. So there's a difference between just naming an item and telling someone what they need and what they want with that language. Any kind of regression of skills, especially language skills, that's a common one. If children maybe around 12 months, they started saying mama, started saying dada, and then a month later they're not saying those words anymore and it really hasn't come back, that is not typical, and that is a red flag for autism. Children usually grow and retain skills and continue to move on to more complex skills. A lack of responding to their name. So if you're calling their name Johnny, 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 and it takes you multiple times and you have to be loud and you have to kind of get in their visual perception for them to turn to their name, that's not normal. Children by 12 months, they know their name and they turn to it. There's a difference between a child ignoring someone calling their name and not responding to it. It's almost like you're worried that they might be deaf or something, and you're like, what's going on? Does he not hear me? It's not that he doesn't hear you, he's not paying attention to you, and that is a not ignoring you, but not paying attention to you, and as in cognitively, his brain has not developed enough to pay attention to his name. He has not learned it as, that's my name, I need to turn and respond to it. Someone wants me to come. Lack of showing. Showing is something that children do very young to indicate that they want to share something with someone. They have a toy that they like, they go and they bring it to their mom or their grandma, whoever's around, to, hey, look at this. Even if it's silent, they want you to see the item. So if a child is using a person's hand as a tool, even to maybe like fix a toy, if a toy's broken and they just grab your hand and they're trying to make you do it, but they're not engaging with you, they're not looking at you, they're not vocalizing to you, it's like your hand is not even connected to your body, it's just a tool, we consider that a red flag for autism. Unusual prosody. And now prosody means like the tone to a voice, or the way that you say something. So if I say, I want a cookie, I say it naturally with natural prosody. If I'm asking a question, I say, can I have that cookie? That's a question prosody. I made it into a question. But an unusual prosody would be like overly sing-songy, or kind of maybe a character voice or robot voice or something like that. I've heard kids with autism use what I call overly sing-songy. Be, I want a cookie, I want a cookie, I want a cookie, like the same way every time, and it's not particularly natural sounding. Or maybe they use like a robot voice. I've heard is, I want a cookie, I want a cookie. Super flat. Or they use a grovel to their voice, or it's super squeaky, anything that just doesn't sound typical. And you notice this more when you have your child around other children, especially children who are not delayed in language, and you can listen to not only the language they're using, but how are they saying that, as in their voice, how are they using their voice to say that. If your child is lacking pretend play skills, that means using items in ways that they are not typically designed for. So you're pretending you're using an imagination, like using a car as a cell phone, or using a tissue as a blanket for a baby, or pretend feeding a bear. You know, it's just a stuffed bear. It's not really going to eat, right? But they start doing that pretend play. By 18 months, we'd expect to see pretend play with stuffed animals and baby dolls, and eventually talking for the animals and moving them. Now, what to do if you are seeing 1, 2, 3, many of these red flags in your child, then that means that it's time for an evaluation. So what you can do is contact your doctor and express these concerns to him and ask for a referral. And then if at the same time, actually, I would also contact your state agency, and that is something like in California, it's called the Regional Center. And this is all down in this description below, and a link to where you can find the state agency in whatever state that you're in, and you can find just the right contact for that. And you can ask for a developmental evaluation for your child. If your child is above the age of 3 or getting close to turning 3, then you would contact the school district as well. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Kayla from Walkie Talkie Speech Therapy. Tune in next time. Click like, subscribe, and share with someone you know. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.